One-room schoolhouses like these were a fixture in Ozarks mountain country. At College of the Ozarks, a student can begin in kindergarten and graduate from college 16 years later. Find out more on Living Legacies of the Ozarks. Welcome to Living Legacies of the Ozarks. My name is Hayden Head, and it is my distinct pleasure to sit down with Dr. Sue Head. And if that name sounds coincidental, it's not, because she's my better half. Sue is the Vice President for Cultural Affairs and the Dean of Character Education. She oversees School of the Ozarks, the Dean of Students Office, Public Relations, Alumni Relations, Major Convocations, Development, the Print Shop, and Mail Operations. So you can see that she's busy. During her tenure year, she has been responsible for creating the Estruit Cathy Poverty Summit and restarting School of the Ozarks. Sue has her Bachelor of Arts in Communications from Vanderbilt University, a Master of Arts in Organizational Leadership from Evangel University, and her doctoral degree in Higher Education Management from the University of Pennsylvania. She also has a couple of great kids, Henry and Lainey, and I'm so happy to be with my wife today. Sue, as we think about College of the Ozarks and School of the Ozarks, why don't we begin at the beginning with Reverend James Forsyth? Can you tell us just a little bit about him and his role in founding the school?
Well, you know, we're so blessed that Reverend Forsyth, who was a missionary in these parts, came to these hills and he found that there were a lot of students that were not able to get an education. And so he petitioned the Synod at the time to start a school here in the Ozarks. And after a lot of effort and a lot of asking and re-asking, they finally agreed. So they laid the cornerstone of School of the Ozarks in 1906, but it was located over on Swan Creek in the Forsyth area. It was the original location.
Now, he was a Presbyterian minister, is that correct? Mm-hmm. And so I guess the Presbyterian Synod. And so so Forsyth is named for Reverend Forsyth?
No, actually, remarkably, he's not named. Forsyth is not named for him.
In fact, they're spelled differently.
Yes.
That was a setup.
Yes.
Great, but the original school was there.
Yes.
And so I think we had talked earlier, and you found a passage from the laying of the cornerstone.
I did.
Would you mind just reading that? Because when we were talking about it and you read just a little bit, I thought, well, that's just beautiful.
Well, the Flight of the Phoenix is the story of School of the Ozarks that became College of the Ozarks, and now we've reopened School of the Ozarks. But I love this passage because when they were laying the cornerstone, this was part of the vision for the school. So this is Reverend Abbott, who was there at the laying of the stone, and he said, "And by faith in that which is to be, we see youth just entering the hard, long road of life, pausing here to be shod for the journey, lingering a little while to put on the whole armor of a Christian education. We see men and women standing in legislative halls, ministering as physicians, preaching the gospel, tilling the soil, and living in peace and purity beneath their own vine and fig tree, all of whom received inspiration and equipment within these sacred walls." And what is so remarkable, that was in 1906. Wow. And that's what we're still doing today.
That's amazing. Not many schools can say that they're carrying on their founding traditions as part of their curriculum, yes, part of their culture. Well, tell me then a little bit about School of the Ozarks. So the College of the Ozarks, that name change was in 1987, as I understand it. So for a while, it operated as a college under the name School of the Ozarks.
It did.
Correct.
Yes.
Right.
And then the name changed
because
College of the Ozarks was actually located in Arkansas, another school.
Right.
It became University of the Ozarks, and we adopted the name of College of the Ozarks.
But when we, School of the Ozarks, this is getting confusing, became a college, we lost the whole elementary, high school, junior high experience.
Right. So it was a high school, and then eventually they added the junior college, and then later dropped the high school. The last graduating class of the high school, School of the Ozarks, was in 1967.
Right.
Then it was a junior college, and then soon became a 4-year college. So 1967, fast forward to 2012, is when the college reopened School of the Ozarks.
Got it. I hope everybody
I
else
know.
got it too.
You might need a graph for that.
I never realized how complicated it was.
But here's the great part about that. It's had the same mission. The founding mission from 1906 is the same as it is today. Wow. And so through it all.
And so you were challenged to restart the School of the Ozarks as first a high school, then you added junior high, and then you added elementary, right? So just tell me about that process. Tell me about what things might be similar with the original school, what things might be different. Let me ask you something real quick, Sue, before you get into that. So when you were reading that, I thought it was really interesting how you added "and women," right? So when the school was founded, it was for boys and girls, though, wasn't it?
Absolutely. And it says that in our mission.
That's right.
We were founded to provide the advantages of a Christian education to youth of both sexes, especially those found worthy, but who were unable to procure or pay for an education.
I have a feeling we're going to come back to that.
Yes, we will.
That's going to be it's a continuing part of the mission of the college, but also that's one of the similarities in School of the Ozarks.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
So tell us about that. How do these young'uns work?
Well, in continuing that tradition, so same mission statement, none of our School of the Ozarks, now K through 12, none of them pay tuition. There are some fees, and they all do chores. So at the K7, K8 level, you're doing chores as you would around the home. So we've got kids that are wiping down the water fountain, wiping down the lunch tables, sweeping, vacuuming, doing those kinds of things in an age-appropriate way.
Right.
When you get into the high school, you have the chance to do some other things. We have students who are trained as beekeepers because that's one of the workstations for the school. You might be a teacher's aide. You might do some cleaning. You might help supervise cleaning at the lower school.
Nice.
There's all kinds of things that they do. But here's the amazing part. Our students get a grade in their work. I think it's second grade through college. And so we want to encourage a good work ethic. And we want students to be evaluated on their attitude, their thoroughness, just like they are at the college.
Right.
So really practically kindergarten through college, everyone is doing chores or working, and they're all receiving a grade in that so that we're fostering improvement along the way.
So what I hear you saying is that a child, and let me ask you this, as we're thinking through this, so do the high school students and lower grades also have to demonstrate some sort of need? Is that, because that's part of the college?
Well, that's a great question. And yes, so remember, following our mission,
Yes.
especially those found worthy but who are unable to procure an education.
Right.
So for students that otherwise cannot afford a Christian education, that is one of the parameters of applying at College of the Ozarks and at School of the Ozarks.
Good.
So we generally follow a 90% have demonstrated need.
Okay.
The other 10% are non-need, but everybody's gonna do chores or work.
Regardless of where they fall in the need range,
That's right.
everybody's going to work.
Yes.
And so if somebody gets the golden ticket, they could get a K through college
Yes.
Christian education by
Yes.
working for it
Yes, they could. Or doing
That-
chores as children.
or doing chores.
Yeah.
That is an amazing model.
Yeah, it's amazing because here's what we know in higher education today. If you have a lot of debt, you may not be able to go to grad school. You might not be able to be a teacher. You might not be able to start your own business. You might not be able to go into the mission field because you've got debt.
Right.
100% of our students graduate debt-free here. So it sets them up for things that otherwise they may not be able to do.
They can take chances if they want to.
They can.
And so many students can't do that because, you're right, because of the debt obligation. We're going to talk more about that when we return to Living Legacies of the Ozarks. We're going to learn more about the college and the school. We'll see you soon.
Living Legacies of the Ozarks is sponsored by Ozark Mountain Legacy.
Hi, honey.
Hi.
So, we've talked a little bit about School of the Ozarks and some of the similarities with the tradition of the school. Are there any differences you could speak to? Or any changes, say, in curriculum? Or how do you help us understand School of the Ozarks?
Sure. So the reopened School of the Ozarks is actually a classical Christian school. So what that means is we're using original documents, and we really focus on developmentally what students are good at. So we know that students at a young age, memorization is part of that. They like to hear the same songs over and over again. They like to watch the same shows over and over again.
True.
We know at the junior high phase, they like to argue. So we do a lot of rhetoric and logic at that age. And then in the high school phase, they like to talk. So they like to tell you what they know. So we just look developmentally at each of those phases. We call it Rigor with Joy at School of the Ozarks. It is a rigorous curriculum, but they learn how to write, they learn how to do public speaking, and they read some great literature, and they understand what they believe and why.
You know, I'm guessing that, I mean, it's a classical education, but probably in terms of what students are reading, it would not be radically different from what they would have been reading in the original School of the Ozarks. Because that's the tradition of all schools that's basically just been lost for whatever reasons in the last several decades, I guess you would say. So you really, when you call it, it's just identifying something about the curriculum that's always been there. It's just that now we have to identify it.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's a really solid education, and our students, it really prepares them from college.
Right, I'm sure that it does. And a lot of those students will come from School of the Ozarks to College of the Ozarks.
Yes, I'd say over 60% every year that we've been open in these last 10 years have come to College of the Ozarks. We love that. But we also have some students. There's one at the U.S. Military Academy. We've got one at Duke Law School. We've got them at colleges and universities around the country as well.
That is so impressive. And I know that it's caught the attention of a lot of public figures. It seems like, I think Newt Gingrich, when he was here, said that, the work-study model for College of the Ozarks should just be replicated everywhere.
Yes, he did say that.
So he did, didn't he? Would you tell us a little bit? I mean, I know you've had a lot of speakers at the major convocations. You've had how many now that you?
We have probably had about 50 during my time here.
Major.
From people like Truett Cathy to Amy Grant, who is one of my favorites, Tim Tebow, Ben Stein, Dave Ramsey. I mean, we've had...
And presidents.
And presidents as well. President George W. Bush, President Ford was here, Laura Bush has been here, and Barbara Bush has been here as well. So we've had a wide variety of speakers here, but I want to share a really funny story that happened. I have many to share, but this one in particular.
I kind of wanted you to share that, so yes.
So Newt Gingrich was coming.
Yes.
And I picked him up at the airport. We were driving back to campus with his aide, and he said, "Hey, do you want to be on Fox News tonight?" And I was like, "Well, sure. I'm sure the college, we would love that." And so he said to his aide, "Hey, call them and see if that's possible for us to be on tonight live from the college," which I thought, great.
It's great. Great exposure.
So anyway, we drove through the front gates. We came down to the bottom. There was a big boat with a big bass boat behind it pulling out that we had to wait for them to clear past us. Well, at that moment, he said to me, "Bet it's not too hard to get a truck around here." And I said, "Oh, no, in boats, we've got a huge lake with hundreds of miles of shoreline." And he just goes, "I'm talking about a satellite truck." And I was like, absolutely. Right. So I said, "Let me tell you something about our president. Years ago, there was this really cheesy Las Vegas entertainer named Newt Gingrich, and he came here to open a theater." He goes, "I'm Newt Gingrich." And then I was like, I said, Wayne Newton. Well, he just died laughing. And he said, "I've been called a lot of things in my life. I have never been confused with Wayne Newton." So we had a great time while he was here. He's been back several times. And
But not Wayne Newton.
No, Newt Gingrich. But he's been here several times and has become a great advocate for the college.
That's great.
And a great friend to us, too.
Well, I know that you do have a lot of stories about, I'm sure you could go on. So how was it meeting Amy Grant?
Oh, she is my favorite. I actually got to introduce her that evening at the convocation. She was just real and dear And the fun thing about it is they think they're coming to your average college campus.
Right.
And 100% of the time, they are blown away by what they find here.
Right.
And that is so much fun to watch that happen.
I think Ben Stein gave you some of the same reactions, right?
Oh,
when
he
was
did.
here?
He did. He kept saying, this is unbelievable. And Dave Ramsey wasn't going to be able to take a tour. He had to do his radio show, but he wasn't going to mention where he was. Well, after he got here, he said, I want a tour. I'm going to talk about you on the radio. It actually shut down our website. So many people were going to our website.
Well, it makes perfect sense because what he's about is what the college is about
Absolutely.
in terms of managing your debt,
Yes.
in terms, financial responsibility.
He's spoken of us many times on his radio show since then, so it's really fun.
All right, well, we're going to talk some more about these speakers and other things about College of the Ozarks and School of the Ozarks when we return in just a minute.
Living Legacies of the Ozarks is sponsored by Ozark Mountain Legacy.
Welcome back to Living Legacies of the Ozarks. I'm glad you're with us. And Sue, I wanted to ask you kind of a personal question.
Okay.
I know that you created the Estruit Kathy Poverty Summit for this area, and it would be nice to hear more about that. But you've also been involved with Loaves and Fishes. I remember a long time ago, it had lapsed as a program. It was instituted to feed the homeless, and so you restarted that. You were also part of the team that developed Faith Community Health. We could talk a little bit about that. And also Ozark Mountain Country Cares. And I guess I'm just wondering what moved you or inspired you to be involved with these different outreaches?
Well, I am passionate about this institution because it was founded to help our neighbors in need in the Ozarks.
That's right.
And so the common thread in all of those things you just mentioned is helping people in need. And that didn't just start when we moved to the Ozarks. I grew up in Memphis, as you know, and my mother didn't tell me how to love people. She showed me how to love people. And so she worked in a street ministry. She used to deliver Meals on Wheels to the projects in Memphis. And as a young girl, I used to tag along with her. So I watched what she was doing and how she was loving people that way. And so those things are efforts to help the community have opportunity to help serve also. And so, you know, the Estruit Kathy Poverty Summit came about because we were doing character ed in the schools. And there was a group of teachers that had to get back to their school to stuff their backpacks for the weekend. And I inquired about what did that mean? And they were stuffing backpacks with food. And they said, we send these backpacks home with our children with our students, so they can eat over the weekend. And I was like, you know, we're really focused on good character, but if these children are worried about eating or feeding their younger siblings, maybe we should really take a look at that. So that was an effort to bring the community together to try to move the needle on poverty and to make things better for students. Teachers and agencies certainly know all of the difficult things that people face, but in the broader community, it was a whole new story to me how much poverty there was in our area, historically and continuing today. So that's the efforts of the Estruit Kathy Poverty Summit, Faith Community Health. Certainly Loaves and Fishes was a way that people could, if you ask somebody, could you just take care of the poverty issue in the Ozarks, it's overwhelming. But if you ask somebody to feed people just for one night, that's doable.
That's doable.
And people felt really good about that. So Ozark Mountain Country Cares is an initiative now to come alongside all these nonprofits and ministries and agencies who are trying desperately to help people in poverty. Our organization comes alongside them, and we're wanting to cultivate more volunteers in the community that can help expand what they're doing.
Right. Because a lot of people want to help. They want to contribute. They don't know what to do.
They don't know how.
And I think that you're right about Ozark Mountain Country Cares, that it's a way to say, well, come to us, we can help you, we can introduce you to various agencies, but I think there's also a training component, so they're more effective volunteers.
There's a training component to that. We're also going to be creating a data dashboard because grants and all kinds of opportunities are based on the data. And agencies and ministries are so in the weeds of trying to help as many people as they can. We want to take that off of them and be the gathering spot and have a data dashboard so that if you need data for your report or your grant writing or whatever, we'll be able to come alongside you and help you with that.
Got it. So it's not another organization in addition to these others.
Yes.
It is an organization that's just wanting to reach out and help and facilitate some of the nitty gritty so that the organizations can focus on what they do best,
absolutely.
which is feeding people. So Elevate Branson on Thursday nights, which is, or CAM, Christian Action Ministries. Right, that's really good. It reminds me of something, it's always credited to St. Francis, so I'm going to assume that he said it, which is preach at all times and use words when necessary.
Yes, absolutely. That's what we're trying to do. We're just helping them to do more of what they're really good at.
Right. And living one's faith has far more of an impact than talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I love about College of the Ozarks and School of the Ozarks is many of our students, we are helping them change their family tree. And there is nothing more fun than that.
Yeah, that's right. Because that's generational.
Yes.
That's their families and their families' families. And that is a brilliant and a beautiful mission.
Well, it's a really special place.
It
and
is
so
a
we
special
hope people
place.
will come and see us and see it for themselves. It's encouraging to come here.
Well, you know what? We might just do a little bit of an infomercial then. What can people do when they come to College of the Ozarks?
Oh my goodness. Well, they can come to the Star Schoolhouse here.
Right.
They can certainly come to the Keeter Center where there's over 400 students working for their education.
Yes.
They can go visit the farms, the stained glass studio.
And what's at the Keeter Center?
The Keeter Center has the creamery in a high-end restaurant that is really good.
And
Displays. There's a gift shop.
the hotel?
The hotel
Yeah.
there is fantastic.
Yeah, it really is a center. I mean, it's amazing how much takes place under that roof.
And
it's
some
a
of your
gorgeous building.
some of your viewers may not know that the students don't pay tuition, but they also work here 15
Right.
hours a week,
Right.
plus 2 40-hour work weeks each year. So you're going to see the fruits of their labor when they're up there serving throughout campus, not just at the Keeter Center.
I'm glad that you clarified that. I think that's a really good point because we talked about the chores that are done at the School of the Ozarks. But you're right. I mean, not everyone is familiar with the college's work program, which is very woven into the fabric of this place.
Absolutely.
So you said then they work 15 hours a week, each student, plus
2 40-hour work weeks each academic year.
Okay.
And for those who have the highest need, they can work the summer work program, and that pays off their room and board for the following.
that's incredible.
So you've got students working in everybody starts in landscaping or food service because that's just life. You're going
That's
to
right.
start at the bottom and work your way up.
That's right.
But there are over 80 workstations on this campus. You may be mowing grass, you may be working on the hog farm, you may be in the mill, you may be weaving, all kinds of working in the president's office.
Maybe in the Star School,
the
greeting
Star School.
tourists as they come in, people who have questions. Yeah.
Great opportunity, and they get a grade in their work.
That's great. Just as they do in the School of the Ozark, except for the littlest ones. I'm glad they get a pass.
Yeah.
That's good.
They're learning.
Thank you so much.
You're so
for
welcome.
me today and with Living Legacies of the Ozarks. And thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a great day.
Living Legacies of the Ozarks is sponsored by Ozark Mountain Legacy,